So I'm here with Mark Cornford. Mark is a chaplain at the University of Queensland. And Mark, thanks for talking to us today about discipleship. It's a question that lots of people are wrestling with at the moment. I'd like to start with a personal question. What works for you in your own discipleship? What helps you to make progress?
I guess thinking about it, the number one thing is being inspired. Like in reading something, seeing something in a movie about what it might mean to follow Jesus, about the impact that might have for others in my own life. There's that sense of, wow, there's an amazing possibility, or something. Like I'm reading a book by N.T. Wright on justification, and some of this stuff just opens up for me another world of thinking, wow, think of the possibilities of my own faith, how I can live this out, how it could impact God's world and other people. So, or I see something in a movie, or hear a story of someone else. Recently over the last few years, I've done a number of funerals when I was a pastor in a congregation, and sometimes just being there and hearing the stories of someone, how they've impacted other people's lives, has inspired me then to think more deeply about my own faith, my own life, how I'm travelling and how I can be a bit more like that. Yeah. So I guess for me that sense of inspiration from scripture, from other people's stories, from just different sources that leads me on thinking how better might I follow Jesus and impact the world, other people in my own life.
And so you're not just a follower of Jesus yourself, a disciple, you also want to be a disciple maker. What are some of the signs that you look for that when you're working with other people that, hey, they're getting it? What are the qualities of a disciple that are valuable to you?
Yeah. I guess in my experience the number one quality is a heart for God, in the sense people having a desire to actually in some way pattern their life after Jesus. And of course there's lots of questions about how that looks and what that means, but if there's not that basic sense of like a heart connection with someone saying this is important to me about how I want to live a life, how I want to order my faith and my everything I do, then then I think everything else we do becomes really hard. So for me that is number one in terms of discipleship, and soon you can pick that with people about where they are, the sort of things that are important to them, and sensing that heart. And I guess I've found in terms of what I can do, that's the one thing that I obviously can't do. I can encourage people, I can do lots of stuff, but in them that's their connection with God and their own journey and decisions they have to make. And I can sort of do lots of stuff, but I can't actually change that thing. And that's why I guess if I'm looking for people, it's about looking for that quality.
Yeah. Mark, what makes it hard? In the culture today, it does seem that it's difficult to produce people who are full-on disciples. Why is it so difficult?
Yeah, I don't know if I can answer why it is, but I know things that when I see them, people makes me think it's really hard, and that is a couple of things. And I guess it comes from our culture. One is, and I guess the flip side to the same thing, one is the idea from some people, because the call for Jesus is so, I guess, confronting, and also it's about giving up ourselves and putting someone else's priorities, that is that our culture is built on you can't tell me what to do. That sense of no one else can tell me what's right. It's up to me to make my own decisions. And when people start to think like that as Christians still, about they can pick and choose, and in the end, it's not about, and particularly because our culture's, I guess in my opinion, heading in not even very, but definitely in some ways an anti-God perspective, in the sense of, seeing that there might be something which is true and meaningful. So it makes it hard for people who are swimming in this culture all the time, being told it's just one truth amongst many, and they're their own, make up their own thing. So that makes it hard. And the second then, which I guess is a flip side or reaction to that, is Christians who have the package, and they know the boxes, they know the answers, they've got the stuff. So they're the opposite. They've got it all laid out in a sense, and so this is it. And they're not asking any questions. They're not open to something new. And so for me, when people, I guess those two things, like I said, they're probably the flip side of the same sort of thing, but both those make it really hard in terms of discipleship.
Yeah. In your role as chaplain at the university, what are the things that you can bring to bear, methods if you like, or processes? What can you do to help people move on in their discipleship?
That's a very good question. I struggle with that a lot about what I can do more effectively. But I guess what I'm always good at, because it's part of my personality and who I am, is asking questions. So I guess particularly when I'm sitting down with someone who's studying stuff and I ask them the questions, for me then it's a question about, well, how does this relate to your faith? How do you see this living out? What's important? What's your values? How does this connect in together? And because I know certainly for people like there's a sense sometimes, here's my faith, I go to church, and here's university, there's all the stuff that I'm learning, but the two worlds don't meet. So I guess I try and ask them questions about trying to connect those two worlds, get them to think about what they're being told and taught from a faith perspective, what's the framework, where are the connections, and what might it mean for a career. So for instance, one of the students I was having a chat with the other day is a mining engineer, and we'd just been to something on God's care for creation, and then I was asking him, so we've just been to this big thing about how God cares for creation, wants us to do that, and you're going to be a mining engineer. How are you going to put those two things together? And for me, it's not about answering that question, it's just asking, and then as they try and struggle with those answers, if there's resources I can help them with, or just through able to, being in a conversation partner as they're trying out different ideas to help them connect faith and life. I guess that's one thing I see is the more I can help people think about their faith and think about their life and bring those things together, I can help them travel the journey of discipleship.
Thanks very much for talking to us today, Mark.
No worries.